It's been one whole year since I started my first crochet project, learned my first stitch. So these are my crochet goals, my plans, and the inspiration that I'm taking into 2025. So starting off strong with the flag sweater. I have been absolutely in love, okay? In love with the Ralph Lauren American flag sweater. I think especially since it was year of the Olympics, we saw a lot of American flags. So I just couldn't bring myself to spend the $300, $400 on the sweater itself for the one that's Ralph Lauren. I think I even saw one at an outlet and it was still like 200 bucks. So I would much rather, it's much easier to justify spending $200, $300 in yarn and then having the entertainment of making it myself. Okay, if I could jump into the flag sweater for a second again, I just kind of want to talk about the vibes that I'm going after here. Like, this just feels like beachy, cool girl, laid back. Like, you know, I don't have to follow trends, but I am always on trend. That's the kind of vibe that the flag sweater gives me. I don't know what brand this one is from. I found this one on Pinterest. So the stars are like actually like a little plus sign if you look at that really closely. How exactly to do it is going to be a challenge because I didn't find any patterns for it when I was looking online. So I guess I'm just going to have to put it into Stitch Fiddle and figure it out. So the way that I'm going to figure it out, I'm probably going to go to Michael's and buy like loops and threads or something, do a front panel of a sweater. I don't want to do single crochets. If you guys have any ideas or any suggestions, or if I mention any yarns that you're like, oh my gosh, don't do that, it's gonna bleed, please let me know in the comments. Again, I'm just a beginner and like I really want to both share what inspires me but also get some feedback from you guys on what works and what doesn't. I'm gonna buy some loops and threads, just figure out the front panel of how I'm gonna do the flag, and then I want to try using Cascade. I've only ever read about it on Reddit, so if you guys have any thoughts on the yarn, please let me know. I've read some good things and it seems affordable compared to like what Madeline Tosh is, right? This project I have wanted ever since I started crocheting. I think this is why I started crocheting. I really just want this beautiful solid red statement sweater. Like, have it be a crew neck, something that I can wear every day. The way that I like it a little bit oversized here, but then I can't wear it with a jacket over it, so this is a work in progress, bear with me, but this is just a beautiful bright red. So the pattern that I'm going to use is this Don't Scrap That Raglan because I already bought the pattern and I've already done a sweater in it, which I absolutely love. I'm a little nervous because I did it in the wrong size. When I made it, I didn't understand what ease meant, and so I made a small when I really should have made a medium. But so it's okay, it's just a little tight on the top. I'm nervous because the Don't Scrap That Raglan needs a DK and the Malabrigo Rios is a worsted weight. So if anyone wants to tell me in the comments if I can just send it and do it, or if I should find whatever the Malabrigo version in DK is, I just don't know where to buy that in person. And if you can't tell by my favorite accessories, I like red. There is definitely a backstory to this next project that I want to work on. My cousin, who's on that older side, she had a son. I think he's like 6 years old now. And she got pregnant again, so I was gonna make a baby blanket, and I did. So they came to visit, and my poor little cousin's son, he really wanted me to make him something. He literally took some scrap yarn that was on the table that I was working on while we were hanging out, and he wrapped it around his hands and he was like, look, Mom, Dad, like, look at what Emily made. And I felt so bad that I didn't make him anything. So he is also going to get a blanket. I have never made a granny square project before, so I'm a little nervous about jumping into something that's going to be big. Like, I'm hoping to make it like a throw size for him because he's gonna grow into it, right? I don't wanna make him a wearable that he's gonna grow out of very quickly. So I am planning on doing little granny squares with the contrasting. So I've definitely noticed that the granny squares look better when you have a lighter color in between. I love the really deep, deep, deep colors that we see here. I don't necessarily know what kind of yarn I want to use. I'm kind of just gonna go into Michael's and see what I can find. Just like a bulky yarn that's machine washable because again, he's a kid, right? This is gonna be my silent like apology of I'm sorry I didn't make you anything last year. All right, this next project, I have been dying to do something like this for such a long time. I got into crochet because I tried multiple times to knit and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get the, like, once you finish a row and then you go back, there would always be a bunch of yarn left over and I could never get the edges straight. I gave up. And so I tried crocheting, which ended up going really well for me and so I've stayed, but I've always admired and just, I could stare at a fair isle for days. Especially the kind of stuff that you see on Instagram. It's such a vibe. I know that this is knit. I know that's not crocheted, but look at how beautiful that is. And then we have this one, which I also know, I know it's knit, but just look at how beautiful those colors go together. So that's the inspo. So the patterns that I found on Etsy are this one by Brianna K Designs. I also found this Fair Isle, but there's like kind of not enough interest, if that makes sense. I do like the two colors. I do like that it doesn't change stitches. So if you look here, oh, it is kind of blurry. But if you look at the yoke and then at the body, it's the same stitch throughout, which I like. If you come over here to the other one, the Fair Isle, like the yoke is one stitch and then it turns into ribbed, which also looks kind of odd to me. So I think at the end of the day, this one would be the most cohesive, the cleanest pattern. And then I might try to like stitch fiddle or figure out how to do a little bit of this bottom design here, if that makes sense. I might do one, I might do the other, might do both, who knows? We'll see. The next pattern that I want to do is this wave cardigan. Is that what it's called? No, it's called lightly toasted, excuse me, cardigan. So if you look at the details, the ribbing goes in waves, which I think is beautiful. I love the yarn that she chose for this one because it's slightly different enough that it helps add the definition of the waves, but it's not as different shades of color as the pink one. I don't have the personality to be like, oh, this is funky and it's cute and I can pull this off. No, I'm wearing a Ralph Lauren V-neck cable knit sweater right now. If you can pull this off, all power to you, truly. But I personally know my limits and I am not that much of a fashion icon, unfortunately. Kind of going back to the whole like knit imposter thing, I am absolutely in love with cables. If I could make my own cable sweaters, I would be so incredibly happy. But I think this lightly toasted cardigan helps add that interest, that sophistication and intrigue that I'm looking for in terms of spicing up the casual, right, the everyday. So we've got the honorable mention of my ugly Christmas sweater. I have a huge problem when it comes to holiday get-togethers, but now I don't want to spend a lot of money on ugly sweaters or just on holiday sweaters for all of the holiday parties that I end up getting invited to and going to. So I want to have at least 2 sweaters that I can add into that rotation. So the first one would be the red sweater. I can definitely throw that, like a black skirt and or dress, and throw the red sweater on and you're festive. But I want to have something that's kind of an ugly sweater but not ugly, if that makes any sense. Like, oh haha, I was trying to wear an ugly sweater but it's actually really cute. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. So I think I'm gonna make it out of granny squares. Some honorable mentions of things that I think are really cute that I might just end up like YOLO and just end up doing it because they're really cute. I see them on Instagram, I see them on Pinterest, and they might be little like things to throw in between the bigger projects. So a granny square tote, I was thinking more specifically in the theme of like Valentine's Day, like the hearts. Okay, this one isn't as much of a small cute project, but a turtleneck. All right, the next one is my first knit piece. I say knit piece because I don't know. There's a crochet class that I'm planning on taking, and I'm just gonna follow whatever the beginner class goes through. That's there so that I can take the month-long class and have something. I'd imagine it would be like a scarf or a hat or something. The basket weave stitch. I think it's a beautiful stitch. I saw it on the Instagram for Daisy and Peace. I think it was a tutorial for something that they have a pattern for. I didn't really dive deep enough into it. I think it's beautiful. It adds sophistication and texture, and it just makes the piece more interesting. Balaclava. I think that if I have a good experience making granny squares, the blanket, I think that jumping on the trend of the granny square balaclavas would be really cute. The mittens, I am going to have to make. So I can show you. This is one of the mittens that I'm working on. I still have to do the thumb. So this is how it looks. Yes, I forgot to skip colors and I didn't realize until down. So I'm gonna start with the brown and hopefully get away with that repeat here. So this is an overview of everything that I really want to crochet this year. So if you guys have any advice or any ideas for pieces that I should make, yarn I should use for some of the pieces that I mentioned, any sort of advice, or if you have, or if you know patterns that are really awesome, like for example the Fair Isle, if you know an easy, beautiful Fair Isle pattern, please send it my way. Thank you so much for reaching the end of my video. I hope it inspired you to find new pieces to make this year. And I hope that you make today a great day.